I have to make a little bit of a correction. I'm no longer an administrative law judge at the National Labor Relations Board. I retired some years ago, and it was to become the executive director and to found the IAWJ. That's what I'm doing now. And for me, it's a personal thrill to have all of you women together. This was my dream, to cross countries, to cross barriers, and to bring women together to work together. Because if you want something done, you know where you have to go. You have to go to a woman, right? So I have not had personal contact with trafficking until yesterday. After Pam talked to us, I thought this is my opportunity to find out what it is like to be a trafficked person. And I asked her if I could do an interview that would appear in the IAWJ newsletter, which is going to be coming out for the first time in years in late November. And she was very happy to talk with me and was very frank with me, no holding back on anything. And I must say that it was an overwhelming experience. The tragedy of this young woman cannot be explained. It has to be experienced. And I felt it was an epiphany for me, really, to have the opportunity to talk to her. I've seen this conference have a certain a rhythm. We've talked about the extent of trafficking. We've talked about enforcement. We haven't really reached the issue of cure. How do we make sure that the victims are not victimized for the rest of their lives? And that is why I wanted to talk to you about one woman in particular who I think we can't all do exactly what she did, but it does show what one determined woman can do when she partners with a strong person who will, or a strong institution who will help her. And I'm talking about a woman named Susan Esserman. She is a member of the Board of Managerial Trustees of the IAWJ, and a very determined lawyer, a very public-spirited lawyer. And she was doing trafficking cases on the side. She's a lawyer with a very prominent law firm in Washington, but she spends all of her spare time doing trafficking and other very civic-minded things. Well, Susan, who is a personal friend, founded an institution, and it's called the SAFE Center. The SAFE is an acronym for, let's see, S is for safety, A is for advocacy, F is for freedom, and E is for empowerment. And what is the SAFE Center? Well, Susan made a connection with the University of Maryland, which has two campuses, one in College Park, a small town, the other in Baltimore. And this, I'd like to explain what the nature of this institution is. It is, Maryland has agreed to adopt trafficking in a wholesale way. They have 8 of their departments pitching in to do various steps in the process of recovery. So I'd like to outline them for you. There is, let me see here. There is the law school, and they are doing research, and they're finding gaps in the law and gaps in the treatment of survivors, and they're turning those gaps over to various departments at the university. It's a huge university, thousands and thousands of people, young people. And the what Susan found is that whatever had happened to these women, trafficked girls and women, left them with trauma. And it is trauma that cannot be easily overcome. And so the Safety Center also provides, and this is all free of charge, by the way, to the victims. They provide medical treatment because the girls come in with ills. Some of them have had abortions that left serious illness. Some of them most of them have traumatic problems. And they are seen by psychologists that are also associated with the University of Maryland. And so it goes on. They have the business school there working with them in gaining funds to create more solutions for the university so that the university can provide those funds to help the victims. I don't know how many victims have been helped, but I think they're onto something very, very important. Susan not only created the Safety Center, she is on the board of directors, and she helps shape the institution, and she knows what the problems are. So they're up and running, and they're open. They're wide open. Anyone could walk in there and seek help. They would be interviewed and they would be assigned to a caseworker. They have a terrific management system. They follow the cases through so that there are no gaps, and they send them to the right authorities to have to provide cures for them, or to get them into safe houses, to help them get back with their families. That's a very big problem. And the unity of this effort, the cohesiveness of it, has been really working. And I see all of you here so invested in this, trying to overcome the horrors of trafficking. And you are on your way. Many of you have had trafficking cases. But beyond that, don't you want to do more? You interview the victims, I'm sure, and it must wrench your hearts. I certainly felt mine wrenched yesterday in talking with Pam, who's now, you saw her, she's strong. She impressed me very much with her strength, what she has overcome. So I'm looking around for solutions. That's really always been my desire, is to find solutions to problems. I think we have a lot of problems with the law. The rate of prosecution is minimal. I've talked to the Justice Department in Washington, and I think they had like 6 cases last year that they actually prosecuted. And that's not enough. But that's not really the solution for the victims. We may want to prosecute more, and that's true, but it's the victim who's harmed, and it's society who's harmed by the victim. Not by the victim, excuse me, but by the people who have victimized her. They are harmful. So I am trying to think of a way to bring together all of the good information that has come out of this meeting. And one of the things that has occurred to me, which would be rather easy for me to do, but I need all of your help. And that is, I'm restarting the newsletter that the IAWJ used to put out. And that newsletter, I would like to dedicate a part of that newsletter to best practices. And each of you could, if you would, consider as you go along in your work, what best practices have arisen to your attention, and send them to the IAWJ. It's IAWJ.org. That's all you need to know, and I will get it. And we are going to try to publish the newsletter 4 times a year. And I would like to be able to circulate your best practices. Now try to make them practices that are unprecedented, new ways you have discovered of treating victims, new ways you have discovered of prosecuting cases, so they're winners. And I think I hope that everyone will share them. If you're a member of the IAWJ, you will get a copy of the newsletter and have all of this information from the people who have been good enough to send in that information to the IAWJ. And that's one of my solutions. I have a few other things in mind, but I can't really talk about them yet because they have to be vetted to see if they'll really work. But that's my recommendation to you. Think about solutions for the victims. And if you find best practices, or you may have already discovered best practices, send them on so you can share them with everybody. And we may really make some very great gains that way. I do hope so. And I want to thank all of you for the work that you do. It's a wonder. It's amazing, actually. And I want to thank the people who have created this opportunity for us all to get together, the Chancellor and the women who've been at this front desk, and the people behind the scenes, and certainly Pope Francis, who is probably the most compassionate man I have ever encountered. I haven't encountered him face to face, but certainly through his the things he's done, the speeches that he's given, it is his compassion that I think also has played a large role in bringing us together, and I'm extremely grateful for him. And there are other people who've helped him, and the Chancellor was busy when I was complimenting him, but I would like him to know that he is very, very influential in organizing what I think is an absolutely very well systematic conference. It was hard to put all these people together. So I applaud your efforts. Thank you. And that's what really I am here to say to you right now. Thank you very much.